Do you know anybody with Alzheimer's disease or dementia? Do you know anybody that has it in the family? If so, stay tuned because I have some exciting news for you. My name is Tina Wong, or Dr. Tina Enerjoy. I like to call myself that for fun. And I'm going to be sharing with you some impressive findings that I sense will give you new hope for Alzheimer's disease. But first of all, you're probably wondering, who am I and what are my qualifications to tell you about this? Well, I'm Dr. Tina Wong, or Dr. Tina Enerjoy. My Ph.D. is in neuroscience, and I did postdoctoral work in neuro and nutritional epidemiology at places like Johns Hopkins, Tufts University, and more. And so I did 12 years of research in Alzheimer's disease. I'm also a health coach, and I practice EFT, the emotion code and the body code, as a holistic brain health practitioner at Lifelong Enerjoy. Now, I need to start with a disclaimer, just really quickly. So I'll tell you that this information I will discuss is in no way intended to replace any relationship with a qualified healthcare professional and is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. So this graph is basically a demonstration or an illustration of what happens in the brain over the life course. Okay? We know, as Alzheimer's disease researchers, that many changes, neuropathological changes, start to show up decades before symptoms start to show. And then say somebody might reach about their 50s or 60s and they start to experience some memory issues. And that could be a precursor to a normal age-related memory loss, but it also could be indicative of something called mild cognitive impairment. And the definition of mild cognitive impairment is basically the transition. It's a transition between normal functioning and dementia. And we don't know how it's going to go. Some people revert back to normal, and some people actually descend into various forms of dementia. And the current belief system, this is where where Alzheimer's disease, the Alzheimer's disease diagnosis happens. And the current belief system is that at this point, it's too late to do anything about it. Okay? So that's the bad news. But the current approach is the belief that we're going to be able to solve this problem with a monotherapeutic approach, that is a pill, right? And I have issues with this, and there are other epidemiologists, other researchers who agree with me on this, that it is going to be very hard to find one pill that's going to address all the different neuropathological mechanisms that are involved in creating the Alzheimer's disease. Plus, there are many different risk factors and protective factors, and there are different things that we're exposed to or behaviors, epigenetic effects, that's inherited effects as well, all that go to play into the neuropathology of Alzheimer's disease. And there's probably a lot of variation between people. So the idea that a single-prong approach works, we should be able to find one that works for everybody, personally, I'm rather skeptical. And so is Dr. Dale Bredesen. Dr. Dale Bredesen believed that a multi-prong approach would be far more effective than a single-prong approach. And he had the resources, he decided to test this out. So he took 10 subjects with varying stages of dementia. 5 of them had Alzheimer's disease. And basically, what he did is he gave them 36 interventions. Now, not everybody got every intervention. Some people didn't need certain interventions, for example, and compliance wasn't 100%, but that wasn't the point. The point was to test to see if a multi-prong approach would be more effective than a single-prong approach. And look at this. 9 out of 10 subjects saw clear improvements over 2 years. Now, I have to say, I've been hanging around with Alzheimer's disease researchers for many years, and that kind of finding is mind-blowing. Yeah? Very few of us would have predicted, including me, would have predicted such great results. And how good were they? Well, 6 people that had to leave work because of dementia were able to return. All 6. And some of these people, I know from the case studies of this study, there was a lawyer, there was a person that looked like there was probably a high-level manager, and somebody else who was an entrepreneur. So these are not necessarily easy jobs to return to, but they were able to return with enough functionality to go back to their jobs. That's pretty exciting. Now, you may have noticed that one person did not improve. And what was the characteristics of that one person? Well, that person already had advanced stage of Alzheimer's disease and was declining fast when they started. So, let me sum up the findings. So we know at this point, or not we know, but we believe that once they get the Alzheimer's disease diagnosis, it's believed to be too late, that it's time to get their affairs in order. But this research suggests that by using a multi-prong approach, that we may be able to push that back a little bit. That maybe once people have Alzheimer's disease, it isn't necessarily too late. Okay? Now, we still believe that it's likely that there is a point in which it's too late, but we just don't know what that point is at this point. Okay? Chances actually, we do have a good guess though. If people are declining fast, that's probably a pretty good indicator that it might be too late. Okay, but more research needs to be done for sure. Let's talk about what we do, when we don't address the problem, what happens. Because a lot of people, when they start to show symptoms, they go in denial at this stage, right? They usually choose not to do anything. So you have a choice. If you reached mild cognitive impairment, you'd have a choice to live either, keep within your habits. Now, it may not look like a double hamburger I don't know what that is, but a huge hamburger versus an apple. But, if you keep up your habits of whatever it may be, whatever your habits are, and don't make changes, well, it may not look so pretty. So let's use an analogy, okay? Let's pretend we're on top of a mountain and we have to go down the mountain. And we have two choices. Choice number one is to go down the easy way. That's the way where you can get on your butt and just slide down, okay? And that's equivalent to what's happening here with the more, the current habits that we're engaging in. Or we could take a little bit more effort and actually take the path and walk down the mountain. So let's pretend that we've decided, I'm gonna be in denial. People don't consciously decide that, but maybe there's some subconscious interest in just not making any changes, right? I'm too old is what I hear a lot, right? So let's pretend we're ignoring the problem, or we're assuming that it's just a sign of healthy aging or regular aging, and so you start to descend down this path towards mild cognitive impairment. Now, at any stage, you could get up and turn around and walk over to the other side, yes? It's not easy necessarily, but it can be done at this point. But, if you continue to ignore the problem, well, you can get into this uh-oh stage, right? This uh-oh stage is Alzheimer's disease. And that's where it gets really hard to get up and go back over that hill, right? And this is very much mirrors of what goes on in terms of the neuropathology of Alzheimer's disease as well. At this stage, once you develop Alzheimer's disease, you're also fighting against societal beliefs that it's not reversible. Most people don't believe it's reversible at this point, right? At this time in history. Now, hopefully that will be changing soon, but because of that belief system, it's going to be harder to make changes once again. Although there are people that are more optimistic, like myself and Dr. Bredesen. If you are not able to get the support you need to start to reverse any of the symptoms, it can end up in an avalanche-like effect. And that's what late-stage Alzheimer's disease looks like. This is what happened to that one subject who continued to slide downhill. And that's what happens in the neuropathology as well. It just spirals out of control, okay? And there's very little that can be done at this point, at least in terms of their current understanding of the disease. Now, what if you decided during the mild cognitive impairment stage to actually take the healthy route, to make some changes? Well, you get to see beautiful flowers, you get to explore beautiful bridges, and cross beautiful streams. In other words, synaptogenesis is possible, yeah? Your ability to create new neuronal connections, to engage with others, to travel the world, to spend time with your grandchildren, to do the things that are fun in retirement, okay? So if you make those healthy choices, you will have a much more enriching life. So you get to choose. What would you like to do? Now, why am I telling you about this? Well, one reason is because I'm passionate about Alzheimer's disease. It's something I've studied for many years, and I've always believed that it's not as dire as we really think, but we needed to take a multi-pronged approach. And I feel so fortunate because I've found a technique that has allowed me, at least in this one client, to make a huge difference. So I had a client with Alzheimer's disease, it was probable Alzheimer's disease. She'd just been discharged from the hospital for being severely disoriented and confused. And her son brought me to her because he was trying to find a new home for her. She needed to be taken out of her current living situation and put in something that was more supportive of her current condition. But he didn't want to take her to a memory care facility because he found them to be very depressing, and he wanted her to be able to live in a more vibrant retirement community. So what he did was he put her in this more vibrant retirement community and hired an assistant, a personal assistant, to work with her because she really needed care 24/7. She was in a place where if I asked her a question, she would answer, she would start on that subject, but by the second phrase, she'd be somewhere else. And so having a conversation with her was pretty much next to impossible. She also couldn't do simple things like get water. If she got up to get water, she'd forget what she was doing by the time she started walking. So she was dependent 24/7 at that point. So her son came to me and asked if I could help. I didn't know if I could, but I said I'd be happy to try. And what we did was we released subconscious barriers. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit. And over the 6 months of working with her, she slowly got better and better. And now she is at this point where she is able to have complete conversations. She, of course, gets her own water, but not only that, she runs simple errands like she takes out the trash and the garbage, and she even goes shopping. She finds her way by herself around a retirement community. She participates in all the activities, and in fact, she used to be a counselor, and she's now serving as a de facto counselor, and everybody goes to her with their problems. It's pretty neat. Another thing is that she participates in all the activities, and she also is considered very helpful and is always helping out and volunteering to help. She also told me what it's like to have Alzheimer's disease, and she basically said there's like holes in her brain, there's like holes in her thoughts and holes in her hearing, and it was very disorienting, very confusing, and she was ecstatic to be able to communicate again and to come out of that. She really felt like she was awakened, and she is the most grateful person that I've ever met. So one of the most grateful people I've ever met. So that is what is possible. Now, can I do it again? I believe I can. I'm rather confident because I believe in the methods that I use, and I know a lot about Alzheimer's disease. That being said, I can never make any guarantees about individuals. So, how can I help? Well, I mentioned that I release subconscious barriers. And why is that a good thing? Well, your subconscious picks up information left and right about what's good and bad for you, okay? It is so wise. It knows so much. And so all those underlying risk factors that I've been looking for as an epidemiologist, I'm able to just ask directly by asking the subconscious to figure out what each person's underlying causes are contributing, of what they're struggling with. So I use this chart system. It's called the Body Code, developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And we can look at 6 major categories of underlying imbalances. So I'm basically just doing yes-no testing around this graph to look at underlying emotional imbalances, and that's a big category, but we can look at belief systems, post-hypnotic suggestions, sabotage, allergies, much more. And I spent a lot of time working in that because that's not something that Western medicine addresses properly, and lifelong cumulative stress plays a huge role. But I also look at pathogens. We can identify pathogens, we can identify toxins, and release them. We can look at nutritional imbalances, structural imbalances, and circuitry, which is an Eastern medicine system. It's a very holistic system. This is just a top level chart. There's many more possible categories that we can identify and release. And we can get at inherited effects as well. Now, I know some of this for those of you who are more mainstream medicine thinkers. I know that this sounds kind of crazy. It may sound kind of crazy. I would have felt this way years ago as well. But I do invite you to look more into this because it has blown my mind in terms of how effective it is. So if you'd like to learn more about the Body Code, there are links below, both about the Body Code and my interview on releasing subconscious barriers, the key to health and happiness, tells you more about what's possible. And once you've gotten a sense of what's possible, I want you to come back and take a look. I'm also going to be offering some programs to help people who are concerned about getting dementia or have dementia, and even their families. Let me give you an overview of how I'm helping people with dementia or concerned about getting dementia. So what I offer is the Brain Boost Basic. It's basically we sit down and we go through my healthy habits tracker and ask the subconscious what you need to avoid and embrace. Okay, so we look at sleep, we look at diet, we look at exercise, and much, much more. And your subconscious knows what you need to do to have a healthy brain throughout your retirement. So we give you that recipe. If you find that changing habits is difficult, I've got another program that includes a healthy habit tracker, but also it's a 4 to 8 week program to kick your saboteur to the curbside without exhausting your willpower. And it's my Master Your Brain Health Mindset. And then for those who are already experiencing symptoms of dementia or Alzheimer's disease, I offer the Brain Boost Bonanza, which is a convenient, comprehensive, compassionate clearing of the cobwebs. Okay? I'm going to have more about this in upcoming webinars, so stay tuned. So if you are ready to take action, if you feel like you've heard enough, if you have somebody in the family with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, have them call me at 1-855-ENERJOY for a complimentary consultation. I'll be glad to tell you more about my offerings and so forth. If you are not ready, you just want to learn more and you want to spread the word and share it with your friends, I invite you to do so. Please sign up to get my 3 secret strategies to reduce your risk of dementia. You'll find them very useful. And you will also get my upcoming announcements about my upcoming talks and webinar on how to keep your brain healthy at any age. I'll also be offering other variations of talks as well to support people with dementia and their families. So, if you are ready to prioritize your health or to help a loved one prioritize their health, give me a call at Lifelong Enerjoy at 1-855-ENERJOY. And until then, I wish you lifelong energy or lifelong energy and everlasting joy.